Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely, and with me, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of The Gaggle. The topic today we would discuss is the New York Times does the New York Post. The New York Times has just run a story, ostensibly a smear job on the New York Post, that, of course, last week covered in a very big way the story of the son of the nominee of a national political party. The theme of this smear job is that the New York Post, how difficult it is finding reporters who would add their bylines to the story. That the reporter who ostensibly wrote the story did not want his byline added to it, and that the person whose byline was added to it, the person who was the deputy politics editor, had really nothing to do with the story. And from the New York Times extremely tough investigative reporting, they found that she had before worked for Sean Hannity on Fox News, and on her Instagram account, the New York Times is very thorough, on her Instagram account, she had photographs of her posing with Steve Bannon and Governor Mike Huckabee, who's a frequent guest on Hannity. So this was sensational reporting. Now, right away,
sensational.
Yes, the problem was that the Times story was based on only two New York Post employees, both of whom, of course, are anonymous. There's really very little credibility to the story, since whoever these two Post employees are, they may well have an agenda of their own, whether a political agenda or a personal agenda. And of course, we know journalists are the worst backbiters and backstabbers. So the story wasn't terribly credible. So, Peter, did you find it very credible?
Well, no, I found it to be standard operating procedure for these kind of people. Okay, they did the same thing to Julian Assange, to Edward Snowden, and to anyone else that challenges the status quo. It's very much like Fredo or over there at CNN. Don't read those hacked or leaked or whatever emails, because they were probably leaked and not hacked. That was given to WikiLeaks. And because they don't want to talk about the substance. I mean, the New York Times story is, I don't care. I mean, are the emails authentic? Has the campaign denied the authenticity of this material? Have they denied the authenticity of this entire story? That's the only thing that matters. What is it? So immaterial, it's childish, and it's obviously a deflection. Okay, they want to cast doubt on the source. I don't care about the source, I care about the content. Okay, and from what I can tell so far, you and I are very cautious people here. So far, it seems legitimate, okay? I want to know more, you want to know more, and I think more and more people want to know more. But this is exactly how the New York Times operates. Now, they cite two anonymous sources. I'm sorry, George, but given their past behavior, is it really true? I mean, they're anonymous. I mean, I question the veracity of their reporting after what they did with Russiagate, when the entire thing is based on sources that remain anonymous. Okay, and so they're trying to do the same thing again. Now, I really wish they would have gone deeper into the content. Okay, because from what we understand in this, the person that's at the center of all of this, there are 3 laptops now in play, and they are being reference to see if they make any sense here. We're waiting for that there. I'm not going to make a judgment. You're not going to make a judgment. I don't have them in front of me, okay? But, what they're trying to do, the New York Times, as usual, is just trying to muddy the waters okay, instead of doing real journalism. The only journalism they did in that piece was to look at one person's Instagram page and their employment history. Wow, I mean, they really invested a lot of resources in the wrong thing.
Right. Well, one thing I would think, and I'm speculating here, is that the New York Times and maybe some Democrats are sensing that the Russia angle may not work to their advantage. Because if you argue that Russia is behind all of this, then what you're basically doing is admitting that Russia has a great deal of damaging information about a man who could well be the next president of the United States. And if they have this damaging information, particularly about the son of the man who would be the next president of the United States, then that gives Russia a great deal of leverage over the president of the United States. Now, the people who have been gassing on about Russiagate for 4 years, this was their argument. This is the argument they've been making over and over again, is that Russia has leverage over Donald Trump. The leverages have changed. You know, sometimes it was the P incident. Sometimes it's that he owes money to Russian banks or Russian oligarchs. You know, sometimes it's just that because they helped him to win the election. It's never clear what the leverage was, but they were absolutely convinced there's leverage. Well, if you're going to say Russia's behind this, and they have all of this enormous amount of damaging information, then Russia would have a great deal of leverage. And so that's why it's possible that they want to change the narrative to, well, this is all a dark plot hatched by Steve Bannon, Rupert Murdoch, and Rudy Giuliani, and Roger Stone into the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it seems obvious to me that they're trying to cast a narrative where the people at the Post don't want any, they don't want to be close to this, meaning they doubt its authenticity. So what they're doing, they're sowing doubt in the minds of their readers. That, I mean, if they don't want to stand up for their own story, I mean, it must be, you know, built on sand and nothing real. But again, this is standard operating procedure. And as far as smears go, it was kind of a sloppy one. I mean, it was like a first draft one. I mean, I don't think it really moves any of the readers, because what they're going to do is, you know, this is a political season. This is, you know, it's often said, but I think it's true this time. This is a determinative election in our lifetime. And so people are going to say, well, what is this story about? And then going to start looking around themselves here. Okay, so and given what some commentators have had to say, there could be a whole lot more coming out, particularly when we have these the son of this prominent politician, his former business partners could be providing information, or be forced to provide information to corroborate what is on what we believe, what we are told was the laptop of the son. So, I mean, you know, all I can say to the New York Times is that it won't be that hard. I mean, it's something called a calendar, and then you kind of match up dates, and it might make sense really relatively quickly and easy. One thing I'd like to say, since we're talking about this, I thought the Post was irresponsible in publishing those pictures. That's not what this is about, okay? This young man, this 50-year-old young man, certainly has demons that he's dealing with, and I don't think it's really any of our business here. I mean, in the sense that he may be compromised because of addictions and things like that, that is fair game. But putting it on display like that, I thought was inappropriate. Other pictures are being floating around. I certainly hope they're not going to exploit them. I want to look at the money transfers, the wires, the quid pro quo. That's all I'm interested in. Shaming a person that has clearly some medical and psychological problems, I'm not interested in it at all, okay? It may sell newspapers and get clicks for some people, but we're not interested in that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think the only justification, and I mean, I probably wouldn't have run it either. I think the only justification was that this is a man who has been waltzing into one extremely high-paying job after another, for which he was obviously not in any way qualified, and has a lot of personal issues. I mean, you don't have big executive jobs pulling down hundreds of thousands a year when you're obviously not capable of doing even the minimal amount that's needed for a job. So I think that would at least be some justification. But I kind of agree with you that it's not really appropriate. I mean, that's a private matter.
What's really interesting to me is that, here is a person allegedly, and I think, and for some people, they've been able to already prove it. You and I will wait on that. But here's a person that was allegedly paid hundreds of thousands, if not, $1 million a year, and he didn't have the wherewithal to pick up his computer from the repair store. I mean, wow, a jet-setting executive pulling down money, hobnobbing with oligarchs and Chinese officials, and pulling down for his fund, over $1.5 billion, and he couldn't pick up his laptop. I think that really is kind of telling in a lot of ways.
It is telling. There may be one explanation for that. Again, I'm just purely speculating. There may be a lot of very bad things on that hard drive. I mean, one obvious possibility: child pornography. I don't know that. But that's a possibility.
It's been said, but we can't confirm that. Okay.
Exactly. So it may be like if you leave a computer and you think there may be some damaging things on that computer, then you may well think, if I go back and pick it up, then essentially I'm admitting I own it, and there might be feds coming in, right, nabbed you. So that may be a reason why he didn't go pick it up. So we have to wonder, and particularly if you think about why did this guy, this person in the Delaware computer store, get in touch with the FBI? Again, maybe he found something on the hard drive that he thought warranted some sort of an FBI investigation. I mean, that's a question. I mean,
well, that's a really interesting point, because that crossed my mind too. And I don't know who this person, the owner of the store. Obviously, I don't know anything about his biography. But I mean, when someone leaves a computer around, and your job is to IT stuff like that, and is a person like that, and maybe they would, but is a person like that going to make a connection between high politics and fixing a guy's computer? And you're right, maybe it was something else, the other content on that computer that he thought, whoa, somebody's got to take a look at this. But that brings up another question here, George. We are told, there are reports that the FBI has had this computer for well over a year. And again, what is going on here? Okay, and I have to push back a little bit here. The fact that Steve Bannon is involved here, that mixes things up here. He is an agent provocateur on steroids. Okay, so I would like to know more about his involvement and the president's lawyer. Okay, so I mean, this is. I guess what is for me that's really important here is, unlike 3.5 years talking about hot air and accusations and anonymous sources, there's some evidence here that warrants real investigation, and it's called the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I want to know what they're doing, okay? Because I've said in public, I mean, if they can't do these basic things, then what do we need the FBI for, really?
Right. Well, let's remember that in 2016 they again kind of sat on a laptop that the Wiener laptop. They sat on that, and then they did a 48-hour investigation and said, "Yeah, nothing to see here, folks." They managed to get through hundreds of thousands of emails and said, "No, everything's hunky-dory." So this would be another case. Why did the FBI just sit on this? And that may explain also why this Delaware computer store owner got in touch with Bannon. He didn't get in touch with Bannon right away. It took quite a while before he got in touch with Bannon. He may well have thought, hey, I'm now in a kind of a vulnerable position.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, because this man could become the next president. And, I might suddenly find myself in a car accident, or suddenly falling out of my window. So he may well have just said, this is just a way of, just protection. Get that copy of the hard drive to somebody else. And, and that way, that gives you some protection. That, it's out in the public.
there's such a weird Keystone Cops element to all of this, you know. It's just you know, like I said, you know, you have these high level officials here, and there's something could be what we're told staring you in the face, and it creates paralysis. Okay, it's extraordinary. We'll see where it goes, but there's certainly a lot of smoke here, and we're going to keep a very close eye on it. And I think anyone that just watched this video here, we are very, very careful. We are not out to destroy anyone's character. George and I want to look at the facts and just leave it at that. Let the facts speak for themselves.
Yes. Well, we'll certainly be watching this story because it's quite likely that there'll be a lot more material coming out, and so we'll be able to make the appropriate judgments in due course. All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.